We had come from 22nd Street and 10th Avenue when my parents came here from Puerto Rico, and they got a job as a super on 22nd Street. A few years later, we moved to 17th Street and have lived there for now. It was a rent-controlled apartment, and it had a tub in the kitchen with a big window right next to it. That was very drafty. But anyway, that was living like that back in those days. Cold water flat. I met Jane through my mom, who used to help a lot of people herself. She knew Jane because there was a time when there were a lot of storefronts in Chelsea on 8th Avenue, which are now like ritzy, magazine shops and all of that, cake shops. Used to be places where people came to get help. Mostly people from Puerto Rico or from any other island that came to Manhattan and they lived downtown in Chelsea. And Jane worked in one of these places called Chelsea Save Your Homes.
Really close.
Yeah. Chelsea Save Your Homes. And we used to go there and help interpret and fight for people's rights and get them on public assistance or get them into schools and get them to learn English. And that's how we first knew about Jane. At some point, my mom moved away to Chicago, and I wanted to stay in the apartment because it was cheap. And I was going to be on my own, and I was working, and I was, having fun. Until one day I get a knock on the door, and someone serves me this paper. They said, "You've been served." And I'm like, okay. And I look at it, and it says that I have no right to be in the apartment. And so, and the guy walked away. So I called my mother, and she said, "Go down to the Chelsea Coalition on Housing basement and talk to Jane Wood." And that was in the early 80s. And I went to the basement and I brought my papers, and there were a lot of people sitting around this table, and they told me what to do, and Jane was there. And that started my journey with Jane, because as we know, and it was said before, that if you got help, then you got to stay and help others. So I won my case in my rent control apartment. They said, because the lease, there was no lease, and it was in the name of my father, Jose Aviles, then I had no right to be there. So, because I think in those days they didn't honor the wife or the children. But anyway, we won. We had a legal aid attorney. We won our case. I was there happily until we got a new landlord who wanted us out. And they were very aggressive in those days. I went through 3 fires. One landlord was worse than the next, and each time Jane was there, and each time she would say, "You can't move." I mean, the last fire was really bad, and we were in the street, and I was crying, and I said, "We're going to lose this. You're not going to lose this place. You're going to fight." And I was like, okay, we're going to fight. So we ended up fighting, and we did win. And it was a very big win. I remember it in 1987. And we demonstrated in front of the landlord's plant store with Tom Duane and a lot of other people. And we were able to embarrass that landlord so badly that he actually left. So what happened in our building, we kept being bought by different people. And each one was wanting to get us out. So finally, after that last fire and fighting, and the next landlord was a motorcycle club, was downstairs in a commercial space, and it was terrible. To see motorcycle guys in the middle of the night revving up their motorcycles, and we were trying to complain about them. So I told Jane, and she said, "Let's go to Community Board 4 and let's tell them what's going on. And let's organize the tenants." So on the day to go to Community Board 4, none of the tenants wanted to go, so it was just me and Jane. Me and Jane Jane against motorcycle dudes with bandanas and, leather vests. And I said, can we do this? And she said, yeah, we can do this. So we stood there, and, she would go like this. And, she was telling the guy that, you have to respect these tenants. They've been living there, and they were very nice to us. And they were courteous, and they were able to put up signs not to make the noise. So I felt it was a win, but I was not happy because I always kept feeling like, I'm not wanted here. I get it. You don't want me here, and I think I want to go because I want to live in peace, and I want to have heat, and I want to have hot water, and I don't want to have to keep fighting. I just felt like I had no life, and I would tell Jane that, and she said, no, but we have a meeting tonight, and we need you to come to this other meeting, and so we kept putting it off. Anyway, she was someone who, I got so much to say, but anyway, so my job with the Chelsea Coalition on Housing was the Social Action Committee, which was organizing for our block parties, for our Christmas parties, for wherever there was a win, we'd have a party. I'd organize that. We also went up to Albany. We organized that. Jane loved going to Ula. She went with Pastor for Peace, one of my neighbors here, went with her, with the Vencereros Brigade. And when Jane passed away, when Jane passed away, I was there. I used to spend a lot of time in those years when she was very frail and sick. And I used to tell her, I got to get a job because I have to pay the rent, and I'm with you all the time. So she worked something out with me, so I had a little money, and I was, able to survive. And when she took her last breath, and it was an incredible experience. And I think what I learned from her was that everyone deserves to have a home, because when you don't have a home, it destroys you. It destroys your family, and it destroys your community. And that was that's one of her quotes. She loved saying that. And so when she passed away, we had the job of cleaning up her apartment, and it took 1 year. And we had Susan M. Cohen, who was our attorney, who would go to court and do orders to show cause, and she got us to stay in there for 1 year because there was so much stuff and so much history. It was incredible. It was amazing, And the last thing is, when we were cleaning up, we said, okay, we got to do something really great for Jane. And someone said, let's name the street after her. And so this is from the campaign that we had. And it was no problem. I mean, everybody just wanted it. It was just, yes, we got to do this, because Sharfman was horrible to her. And we wanted him to remember her because the sign says Jane Wood's Way. So every time he comes on that block, you have to see the